discovered my wife being unfaithful at her summer workshop, so I gathered proof, made my exit, and vanished completely before she came back. My name is Ethan Carter, though my friends prefer to call me Ab, never Andy. There's always that one bothersome drunk or oblivious person who feels the need to get too comfortable and refers to me as Andy. So, Andy, what do you do for a living? Inquiries arise. I respond by creating this innovative gadget that allows officers to detect intoxicated individuals from a distance of 40 feet. They've begun affixing them to radars throughout the town. That typically silences them, but just in case you haven't realized it yet, that device isn't genuine. It's evident that I possess minimal tolerance for nonsense. Deceive me, and the situation will only deteriorate. I consider myself straightforward, quite uncomplicated, really. I appreciate a simple existence and take pleasure in my endeavors. I am employed as an engineer at a large national corporation with locations throughout the country. I enjoy the company of friends, and although I don't indulge often, I do appreciate a beer now and then. To be honest, I have a stronger preference for nachos, but that's my personal struggle. If I allow it to spiral, I'll end up putting on pounds. I strive to maintain a good level of fitness that suits my age. I once seized every opportunity to sail, but now, with a wife and two young daughters, my time is quite occupied. In the end, I parted ways with the boat. That was merely one of the concessions I've embraced throughout the years, allowing me to cherish quality moments with those who truly hold significance in my life. I have enjoyed a wonderful marriage with Laura for 25 years. She dedicates her life to teaching high school students. Our two daughters have embarked on their college journeys. Emily is pursuing her studies at Columbia University in Rhode Island, while her younger sister, Denise, is enrolled at Northeastern University. While those prestigious schools may be beyond my financial reach, I'm fortunate that the girls are committed learners and have earned remarkable scholarships. We reside in Virginia, particularly in a region referred to as the Tech Valley. The focus is on outstanding universities in Raleigh, complemented by a landscape of premier high-tech companies. Residing and engaging in my profession here is truly delightful. While I could share details about Carolina barbecue, it would only leave me craving more. While I felt a tinge of disappointment when the girls chose colleges up north, I recognized their need to venture beyond their familiar surroundings, and in the end, that's a commendable choice. Our daughters are remarkable, bright, witty, and delightful young women who embody strong moral principles. I have daily concerns for their safety, yet I have faith in their ability to make sound decisions. Seeing them grow and begin their journey toward independence allowed my wife and me to reclaim some precious time for ourselves. This stage has been eagerly anticipated for some time now. With both girls off at college, I envision coming home each evening to a devoted wife who would direct her attention towards me, and I would do the same for her. I envisioned us reigniting our bond, resulting in days brimming with joy. It felt as if they were experiencing the bliss of newlyweds all over again. We could savor meals at restaurants, experience the thrill of live performances and films, and ultimately reconnect in the way I had always dreamed. Yet, the actual events diverged from my initial expectations. Reflecting on that initial year of an empty nest, I observed Laura experiencing transformations. It appeared that her passions were evolving. The transition unfolded slowly, yet its clarity grew increasingly apparent as time passed. At first, I believed these changes were her means of thriving now that our daughters had moved out. Eventually, I came to understand that what I was witnessing was a profound shift in her values and priorities. Laura teaches English, focusing on the art of creative expression through writing. To be fair, she's also someone with unfulfilled creative aspirations. As a young mother and teacher, she found herself with little opportunity to express her writing aspirations fully. In the summer, and whenever she finds a moment, Laura devotes her time to crafting her words. However, up to this point, there hasn't been much to show for it. She would submit her essays and short stories to literary magazines, only to gather a stack of rejection letters. The magnificent creation she envisioned never came to fruition. I must confess, I find pleasure in her prose, yet as a creator, she tends to remain within the confines of formulaic narratives, occasionally veering into the realm of excessive drama. She holds an idealized vision of what a writer embodies, and I can't help but think that her fascination lies more with the concept of being a writer than with the craft of writing itself. Still, if she finds happiness, then I find happiness as well. Throughout much of our marriage, Laura has participated in several writing groups. These are assemblies of individuals who unite to assist one another by offering critiques, suggestions, and discussions about their creations, with the goal of enhancing each other's craft. Some of these groups strike me as truly productive, while others seem more akin to circles of mutual admiration. The final group she was part of, the one that existed when everything unraveled, contained aspects of both. They alternated hosting each other at their residences, and during these gatherings, I made an effort to provide them with some privacy. I made an effort to join in once, but Laura and a few others were not in favor, so I ceased my attempts. Laura's present group of writers includes approximately 10 individuals, featuring a mix of both men and women. I have a preference for certain ones, while others don't quite appeal to me. Some of them blend into the background, while others make a lasting impact upon introduction. For example, Margaret, a woman, is deeply engaged in crafting histories and biographies. She undertakes genuine research and crafts books that possess an academic quality, all the while striving to captivate her audience. I have delved into each of her works and found great pleasure in them. Cindy has a flair for crafting fantasy tales. She likely doesn't see herself stepping into the shoes of the next literary sensation. She tends to favor the whimsical, chatty unicorn variety. She has a warm demeanor, and her work appears to be primarily for her own enjoyment. Who could possibly dispute that? Tom takes on the persona of the group's expert. A touch of that can have a significant impact, but other than that, he appears to be fine. Next, we have Greg. From the moment I encountered him, a sense of unease washed over me, and that feeling has lingered in my mind ever since. Upon meeting Greg, it became evident that the introduction was more about me being presented to him than the reverse. He gazed at me and inquired, "So, Andy, what do you do for a living?" I caught a glimpse of my wife, her expression a subtle frown as she gently shook her head. I just replied, "I'm an engineer, Greg." Did he respond with a smile, or perhaps a more mischievous smirk? I noted that I had ceased trying to connect with their group, choosing instead to remain somewhat concealed and unobtrusive, though not entirely out of earshot during their visits. I frequently find myself in the adjacent room, immersed in my tasks, or on the back porch with a window ajar, allowing me to catch snippets of their dialogue until they no longer remember my presence. I observed from the beginning that when Greg converses with Laura, there's an exchange of private jokes and a bond that leaves me feeling uneasy. At times, he elevates her confidence, while at other moments, it feels as though he understands her deepest feelings in a manner that I find unsettling. He brings up previous discussions that appear to have been shared solely between them, and I sense that the others in the group don't recall those instances. I can't quite put my finger on it, but I'm not particularly fond of this sensation, and I've expressed that to her. She dismisses my worries, and I've come to understand that it's best not to press the issue. I've conveyed my feelings clearly. Now it's her turn to decide. The team adheres to a structured approach in their gatherings. Following their productive session, they indulge in a glass of wine and take a moment to unwind. It is in this moment that I come to understand that some of them are simply performing a role. It occurred during the heart of the spring semester, around early March, when the discussion turned to the ways of life of genuine wordsmiths. It's well known that many renowned authors struggled with alcoholism. Indeed, they crafted their words in the mornings and indulged in drinks during the afternoons and evenings. It calms the mind and invites fresh perspectives. In the early hours, inspiration strikes, and the words begin to pour forth. Indeed, all the truly accomplished individuals in this field have navigated romantic relationships. That was their genuine source of inspiration. That's what Greg mentioned. Thank you for sharing, Greg. I'm beginning to grasp your perspective. That's when Laura's words struck me with the force of a gut punch. Indeed, without a doubt, the fervor and exhilaration of uncertainty, the thrill of concealing everything from others, this is where true inspiration emerges. A few of them laughed, while the rest remained silent, leading me to reassure myself that it was merely a joke. Still, I listened in on their discussion for the remainder of the evening. Perhaps we should all indulge in a night of fervor, and then we could each craft the next great American novel. That originated with Tom. I was unsure whether he was being serious or joking. Character flaws do not form the foundation for outstanding storytelling. What genuinely creates remarkable narratives are attributes such as compassion, understanding, and the courage to face the enigmas of the unfamiliar. I previously noted my fondness for Cindy. Memorable tales revolve around conquering obstacles, pursuing excellence against all challenges, and enhancing the world for future generations. Perhaps with the right incantation, we can sidestep all the trouble. There he goes again, that annoying Greg. To their shame, a few in the group appeared to find that entertaining. I have my doubts about whether Cindy did, and I suspect Margaret didn't either. They persisted in discussing the drinking habits and romantic entanglements of authors, while I remained a silent observer, absorbing every word without revealing my presence. Then I overheard a captivating segment of their discussion. Is anyone else considering applying for the Midwest Writers Retreat this summer? Greg was speaking again. I've already sent in my application. I'm hopeful they'll choose to accept me. 6 weeks dedicated to the craft of writing and engaging in discussions with fellow creators. It has the potential to change everything for me. This was the first time I had heard about it, and it was Laura who brought it to my attention. Greg noticed it immediately. I have no doubt they'll welcome you with open arms. Your work has demonstrated remarkable growth over the past year. I have confidence that you will be accepted. I have submitted my application too, however. I have some doubts about my chances of getting in. My instinct for absurdity was heightened beyond measure. Honestly, Greg, when did you start being so humble? I found the words unsettling. Yet at this point, my feelings for my wife remained strong, and my trust in her unwavering. After years of marriage, trust becomes the cornerstone of our relationship. You don't wonder, is she up to something sinister? The idea doesn't even enter your consciousness. Marriage is a collaboration, and your partner is your complement. Her dedication has been evident through the years, and your deepest wish is for her to achieve the success and joy that is rightfully hers. Or at least, that's what you think. Eventually, everything falls apart when you realize your trust has been broken. As time passed, I gradually permitted myself to set aside the conversation I had overheard that evening. As I previously stated, I had complete faith in my wife. Some younger individuals may not understand this, but after 2 decades of marriage, trust evolves into a fundamental aspect of life rather than merely a decision. As late April unfolded, I wrapped up my gardening endeavors outside and made the decision to retreat indoors for the day. As I approached the kitchen door, I overheard my wife on the phone exclaiming, "I can't wait. 6 entire weeks free from any obligations, devoid of commitments, and without anyone anticipating my response." I became more alert at that final detail. I stood still and attuned my ears. Certainly. These next 6 weeks promise to be an indulgent journey like no other. I have a responsibility to myself, and so do you indeed. This did not resonate with me at all. With a gentle nudge, I swung the door open and stepped into the kitchen. Laura appeared taken aback. I really must be on my way. Ab has arrived, and it's time for me to begin preparing dinner. She ended the call abruptly. Who was on the line? Oh, merely Margaret. We were discussing how the school year is coming to a close soon. It certainly was not, I mused. I felt compelled to inquire about some of her statements, particularly the one regarding not waiting for my return. Yet I had a feeling that honesty might be elusive this evening. My mood soured, yet I endeavored to mask it for the time being. Later that night, following dinner, the unexpected revelation occurred. Ab, you won't believe the incredible news I got today. Remember that workshop in Illinois I applied for? Seriously, you barely noticed me at all. Honestly, I'd come across that workshop previously, but it was merely because I had caught her talking about it that evening over a month ago. I don't remember you bringing it up. Indeed, I did. I submitted my application for a 6-week workshop focused on the craft of writing. The time frame spans from mid-June to late July at the Great Lakes University. They host lectures led by their professors, invite accomplished individuals for seminars and discussion groups, and engage in extensive writing activities. What an incredible chance, and I've been accepted. That sounds absolutely delightful, my dear. I have confidence that we can handle it financially. Perhaps I could carve out some time from my work schedule to accompany you. I would be delighted to hear those discussions from the authors. Her reaction appeared to be one of surprise. We might take that into account. The next 6 weeks will be quite demanding, leaving me with little opportunity to spend time with you. Once more, I felt that familiar sensation stirring within me. I'm not one to ask for much, and perhaps I could take on the role of the coffee person for everyone. She presented a somewhat anxious smile. That sounds lovely, my dear. Let's find out what unfolds. I have experienced such deflections before, and I understood their significance. She intended to make sure I wouldn't accompany her to Illinois. It seems to me that you might prefer I stay behind instead of joining you. Oh no, it's not quite that way. I simply have concerns that you may perceive it as uninteresting. You're into computers and circuits, and this is just a group discussing grand concepts. Big. I didn't say it out loud, but in my mind, I was screaming it for everyone around to hear. I'm not lacking in smarts, darling. Oh, I didn't intend it to come across that way. I'm just pointing out that your focus is on the specifics, whereas those who craft narratives often wrestle with broader existential themes. Large pen. Yet, I chose to keep that thought hidden away. I could sense when I was being overlooked. I have no doubt you'll shine. She'll be engaged later this evening. Once Laura settled in for the night, I connected to the internet to examine our phone records. That feature is provided by AT&T. Every call, whether incoming or outgoing, as well as all text messages, is documented. I reviewed the phone log, and the call I had interrupted wasn't with Margaret. If it was, it came from Greg's phone. It's remarkable how swiftly trust can disintegrate after 25 years of marriage upon uncovering your wife's deceit and her intentions to leave you out of her plans. As the weeks rolled by, she appeared entirely absorbed in conversations regarding the workshop. I tried several times to bring up the notion of accompanying her or visiting at some point, but she brushed off the idea each time. Then she transitioned from reasoning to control. Ab, I have the most thrilling announcement to share. I've secured 2 tickets for you and Ryan to a fishing camp in northern Canada this coming late June. Why not bring Ryan along? You both can relish the experience of fishing for those big brown fish you've been so eager to catch. It was rather costly, yet I wanted to convey my appreciation for your understanding regarding the workshop. And I felt a twinge of guilt that you might not be having a good time. I hope you have an amazing time ahead. Upon my return, we can exchange our experiences. I had a feeling that something was amiss. Thank you, my dear. Your thoughtfulness is appreciated. To be honest, I would enjoy my time with you more. We have already discussed this. It simply doesn't make sense. I'll be busy the whole time, and I wouldn't want to leave you feeling overlooked like that. I glanced at her face and eyes for a moment, attempting to decipher the meaning behind what I observed. Was it patronization? Thank you, dear. Canada seems delightful. My tone was devoid of excitement. I was carefully considering my choices. An unexpected journey to Illinois took center stage. At the very least, you might express it with a smile. The cost of those tickets was quite high, and my desire is for your happiness. Absolutely, that sounds enjoyable. I descended into the basement to experiment for the remainder of the evening. Our home is aged and features one of those floor grates in the corridor. It allows warm air to circulate from the furnace room and was the initial method of heating the first floor. At first, I was careful to avoid stepping on it, but as time passed, I became accustomed to it and eventually overlooked it entirely. The phone resides in the hallway as well. As I immersed myself in my thoughts in the basement, pondering my next moves, I caught the sound of Laura on the phone. Indeed, I handed him the tickets. He remains uncertain. I'm uncertain. I continue to express to him that he won't find it enjoyable. I can't simply ask him not to show up. I get it, and I desire that as well. But I want to remain married afterward. I simply require a bit of distance to relish my own company for a few weeks. I have earned this. I have truly deserved this. Absolutely, I desire those weeks with you too. Very well. Let's take a moment to pause. I believe he'll eventually see things differently. All right, darling. I miss you as well. Create something remarkable for me this evening. With that, she concluded the conversation. A lump formed in my throat. I know what I'm talking about. I can identify betrayal when it resonates with me. It seemed that Laura was either involved in an affair or contemplating one. Anything below that threshold would leave her with a considerable amount of justification to provide. After 20 minutes of contemplation, I realized that, for the time being, I had to embrace the very deceit I had always loathed. For now, I had to conceal my intentions until I could devise a strategy. I called upstairs and, with warmth in my voice, said, "Laura, I'm on my way to see Ryan and share the good news with him." "Oh, that's wonderful, my dear. Delight in it." And just like that, I found myself stepping through the basement door. I sought separation. My visit to Ryan was just a pretext. As I reflected on it, I came to understand that I required someone to share my thoughts with, and Ryan had always been my dearest companion since our early years. I can't believe this. Ryan always got straight to the point. Absolutely not. I can't accept that. She would never let you down, Ab. It seems she's putting in a lot of effort to ensure I don't attend that workshop. And she's using that endearing term with someone else, and it's certainly not directed at me. We simply remain there, quiet. That's what many men seek from a friend, simply being together and sharing the struggle. A discussion with her regarding this matter is necessary, AB. It's unwise to navigate the upcoming months with a mindset steeped in negativity without first uncovering the reality. What will she have to say? How certain are you that when I looked at the phone records tonight, it wasn't Greg she was conversing with. It wasn't Greg she referred to as baby. And it wasn't Greg she was scheming alongside. I'm not willing to place that wager. So what's your strategy? I'm about to take a moment to engage in a sincere conversation. That's the natural course of things after sharing 25 years together. I will convey my feelings for her, share my disappointment about her not wanting me to accompany her, and I will directly inquire about her reasons for wanting to keep me away. Do you believe she will be honest with you? Not at all. However, I will share the truth with her, even if parts of it may not align with her desires. She will grasp the depth of my affection for her. She will understand that betraying my trust would bring our relationship to an end, and then she'll likely attempt to persuade me that I'm just seeing things and ought to go fishing instead. I took a brief moment to reflect. Regardless, I have 2 tickets for a fishing camp in northern Canada in late June, and one is reserved for you. Delightful. Ryan paused, regaining his composure. Text. I'm here to back you up, my friend. I found myself laughing softly. I've always been certain about the source of his allegiance. We engaged in conversation, exchanged our ideas, and enjoyed a few beverages over the course of 3 hours before I made my way home. After dinner, I invited Laura to join me in the living room, where I shared my thoughts and feelings about everything that had been weighing on my mind. Well, I did hold back a few things. Darling, I have some significant worries to discuss. I don't think you've been entirely honest with me regarding this workshop. I heard you talking about it with your group back in March, but you didn't bring it up to me until after you had already made plans to go. I even caught you discussing how affairs are prevalent among notable authors, and I have to say, I didn't find that entertaining. You've been discussing your trip with Greg, yet when I ask, you provide misleading information and insist it's someone else. You know how I feel about him. When you shared the news of your acceptance, there was a noticeable distance in your demeanor, as if you were subtly dissuading me from joining in. I may not need to be present, but I felt compelled to partake in this thrilling adventure alongside you. You chose to make arrangements for me to be elsewhere without even discussing it with me, committing to something on my behalf. It seems you're making an effort to guarantee my absence during your time in Illinois. I sense that there may be some truths left unspoken between us, and it's leading me to doubt your faithfulness. Ab, I have always respected you, and I would never betray your trust. What has come over you? You are my partner, and my greatest desire is for you to enjoy yourself. It truly pains me that you could perceive me in such a way. My emotions and their triggers are beyond my control. It's clear how much you mean to me. From the moment our paths crossed, my heart has been yours, yet I find it impossible to ignore the shadow of betrayal. Is that your intention, Laura? Is this workshop meant to be your escape from our marriage? Update 2. That marked the conclusion of our dialogue, leaving no room for further understanding or tender exchanges. She erupted into a fit of yelling, and for the remainder of the evening, it was either a cacophony of shouts or a heavy silence from her. For the next week, there was nothing but silence. She employed the silent treatment as a tactic to compel me to relent, attempting to drive me into submission. Nevertheless, it was unsuccessful. In truth, it merely reinforced my beliefs. However, I came to understand that this approach was not leading to any advancement, so in the end, I permitted her to think she had triumphed. If she intended to betray my trust, there was little I could do to stop it. The phone conversation I happened to catch even hinted that she may have already taken that step. In the end, I expressed my gratitude for the journey to Canada, yet my spirits stayed low, only to rise once the adventure concluded. As soon as she achieved her goal, her demeanor shifted dramatically, and she began to portray herself as a devoted wife, all in an effort to encourage the behavior she desired from me. It felt like she had turned on a light, intensifying my doubts even further. I can identify when I'm being manipulated. The Midwest Writers' Retreat was roughly 500 miles distant, and I was unfamiliar with anyone attending. I inquired of a colleague about whom he turned to when he had doubts regarding his wife's fidelity. I took his suggestion, and the individual he pointed me to was located in Illinois. I contacted them for help. The venue for the workshop was ideal, situated on a state university campus. The PIL's operatives were unable to take part in the program, yet they had the freedom to navigate the campus and observe the rooms as necessary. The attendees would enjoy meals in the campus cafeterias, explore nearby bars, and reside in a spacious dormitory alongside fellow students. This created a chance for discreet observation. Some of these students would indeed be working under my guidance, armed with cutting-edge technology. With the school year drawing to a close, our daughters chose to stay at their universities over the summer to engage in research projects alongside their professors. This indicated that we remained empty nesters, and I put forth a deliberate effort. I extended invitations for home-cooked dinners and accompanied her to a variety of shows. She appeared to relish every moment, and I began to feel that I was moving forward. Yet each time I conveyed my feelings for her, I felt a dismissive "I know" attitude emanating from her. Gradually, the fragments of the puzzle began to align. It wasn't that her love for me had faded. Rather, she had begun to overlook its significance. I was known, dependable, and her source of security. She was confident that she could leave, pursue adventure, take a pause from our union, and I would be here when she came back. This insight caused my plans to align perfectly. On the day she left, it struck me that I couldn't let my thoughts remain unexpressed. We lingered by the door as her shuttle for the airport pulled up. Embracing her closely, I poured out my feelings and implored, "Please, don't take any actions that might jeopardize what we have." In reply, she gave me an exasperated glance and snapped, "I'm fed up with your lack of trust in me. Upon my return, we shall engage in a meaningful discussion regarding this matter." With a swift peck on my cheek, she snatched her bags and made her way to the shuttle. She sped off, not sparing a single look in my direction. In that instant, I was convinced that my marriage was reaching its conclusion. After 25 years and raising our 2 daughters, it felt as though our relationship was quietly slipping away, almost unnoticed. The private investigator executed his duties with precision. He noted that they showed no concern for concealing their actions, given that they found themselves in an unfamiliar environment. When Laura arrived at the workshop, it seemed she had taken off her wedding rings during the flight, as they were missing from her finger. She candidly shared that she had just gone through a divorce, and my wife and Greg quickly formed an unbreakable bond. They were perpetually entwined, exchanging tender kisses, clasping hands, and embodying the giddy enthusiasm of young love. My principal investigator cleverly installed a small video camera in the dormitory hallway where they resided. Even though Laura and Greg were given separate rooms, they chose to occupy just one together. From time to time, they occupied her room, at other moments his, yet invariably, they shared the nights side by side. I had a clear understanding of the events unfolding in those communal living spaces, but my principal investigator and his team took extensive measures to validate my concerns. One evening, as the light began to fade, my wife and Greg decided to turn in early. 2 operatives, blending in as ordinary college students, leaned against the hallway wall, subtly maneuvering a tiny fisheye camera under the door. This device recorded a 20-minute video of Greg in action. The clarity of the video was unexpectedly sharp, and upon completion, it became clear that he had not employed any safeguards. That was the breaking point for me. My choice was unmistakable. I had reached the end of this marriage. Any further findings from the team merely served to reinforce my position. My private investigator provided me with regular updates. Yet after that first week, her fate became evident, and my decision was finalized. From the very beginning of her workshop, I dedicated my time to executing my plan. I sought to transform into an elusive figure, akin to a specter. Upon her return, I would have vanished, leaving no room for return, no fabrications, no demands, no extensive discussions, clarifications, rationalizations, or efforts to repair what was broken. Only separation would remain. The conclusion of my marriage had arrived. Love endures. Yet what is love if trust is absent? A future is impossible with a disloyal partner. Some may contend that my solution lacked strength. They might propose that she warrants severe consequences, profound humiliation, and total ruin. Ultimately, the law would stand in my way, and I had no desire to jeopardize my future by seeking petty retribution against my unfaithful wife and her lover. My retribution would involve stripping away the one constant she depended on, the unwavering presence that comforted her, encouraged her, and inspired her. I was distancing myself. Greg didn't measure up as a desirable partner. He was unable to offer her the long-term support she required. Where might a divorced 50-year-old mother discover love and emotional stability? I had no worries. She would no longer occupy my thoughts. Every few days, my private investigator would provide me with additional pictures, more videos, and further evidence of the betrayal by the individual who vowed me unwavering loyalty above all else. The reports presented a challenge to comprehend, and the accompanying photos and videos were even more distressing to view. The audio recordings were particularly challenging to endure, especially when they evoke feelings of disgust. He constantly messages me about the fish he's reeling in and how incredible it is up there. She chuckled as she mentioned that he expresses his gratitude almost daily. He seems completely lost. Greg participated in the laughter. Maintain his ignorance. Handle him like a mushroom, and you'll liberate yourself from his irritation. He may as well take pleasure in the moment for the time being. Upon my return, I shall address that individual regarding his claims. How could he continue to accuse me of cheating? So you're just stepping back from our marriage for a moment, aren't you, lovely? Or is there someone else beside me in my bed each night? She truly found that amusing. What a? Perhaps he has a point, but I won't stand for it. I'm a creator, damn it, and he's stifling my flow with his circuits and computer jargon, his millimeters and micro thingamajigs. What insights does he have regarding grand concepts? In my third update, I contemplated a range of strategies for retribution. I came to understand that none of those choices would genuinely fulfill me while my existence continued to intertwine with hers. With only one option left, I started to pull away from her. I engaged in a candid dialogue with my boss, laying everything out clearly. He recognized the situation, having experienced something akin to it himself not too long ago. He organized a transfer for me to our firm's office in Bayside, Maine. The concept intrigued me. I knew the individuals there well. They were adept and professional, and I appreciated their company. The town and the state both captured my interest. I arranged for movers to carry half of the furniture and all my personal items up north. I made certain my vehicle was well prepared for the trip ahead. Subsequently, I sought the expertise of a lawyer to commence the divorce process. Regarding financial matters, Laura maintained her own insurance and retirement account. I took her name off all my assets and designated my daughters as the beneficiaries. I executed a quick claim for the house, transferring ownership to her in return for foregoing alimony. She intended to retain her car, but had to manage her own insurance. I intended to manage the bank accounts and credit cards later on, maintaining a low profile about my plans. From that moment on, I dedicated myself to strengthening my determination. I tried reaching out to her to ask about the progress of the workshop and to share my affection. I thought that listening to her deceit would reinforce my belief that my choices were warranted. She exceeded expectations. Within a mere 2 minutes, she responded with excitement, expressed her fondness, and dashed off to dinner. My private investigator later revealed that Greg was right beside her, sharing knowing glances and mocking gestures, which only reinforced my decision. It was clear that she viewed the situation as a joke, affirming that I was indeed on the right track. Eventually, I decided to reach out to her via text messages rather than phone calls, since I wasn't confident I could manage my emotions during a conversation. I would inform her about the successful fishing trips, but in reality, I had sent Ryan and his wife on those adventures. They truly enjoyed themselves. Ryan chose his partner with great discernment. I made sure to pay them a farewell visit before I left, and they assured me they would come to see me. As her 6-week workshop came to an end, I wrapped up my last assignments. A friend of mine, who works in real estate, provided me with a for sale sign to put up in the front yard. I was unable to sell the house without her agreement, particularly since I had already transferred ownership to her, though she was not aware of that fact. Upon her arrival home, the sign would immediately catch her eye. I replaced the locks on the house to create a sense of distance from her presence, chose specific photos from her trip, including some candid shots captured beneath Greg's door, and gathered a copy of the private investigator's report. I placed everything on the dining room table to make it clear that her actions had been revealed. The majority of my possessions had already been transported by the movers, who would keep them safe until I was prepared to retrieve them. I brought along just 2 suitcases, my briefcase, laptop, and guitar. My guitar was essential. I simply couldn't place such a treasured thing in anyone else's hands. Though Greg may have a connection with my wife, my guitar holds a special place in my heart. I had intended to leave the following morning, aware that she wouldn't be back until much later that evening. In this manner, I would have vanished by the time she got there. Yet, I experienced a shift in my feelings the evening prior. I wished for her to feel the anguish immediately, while she was left to wait and fret until she came back. I sent her an email featuring 3 thoughtfully selected photos of her and Greg, accompanied by the phrase, "Divorce you." I hereby declare our marriage dissolved. I hereby declare our marriage dissolved. I chose a photo capturing a moment on the dance floor that felt almost intimate, distinctly revealing that she wasn't wearing her engagement and wedding rings. The second image portrayed them entering his dorm room, hands intertwined. The third image captured a moment from the dorm room video, highlighting her face distinctly. I expected she would come across these images and wished it would spoil her last romantic evening with Greg, while they desperately looked for cameras that had already been taken away. Afterward, I powered down my phone. Departing from the residence that had served as our family sanctuary for so many years brought forth a blend of sorrow, apprehension, and a sense of liberation. It was a moment that encapsulated challenge, uncertainty, and liberation, all intertwined in a single experience. Ultimately, my wife had departed from my existence. I was unaware of the when or the why, yet it felt as though she had passed away, even though I bore no responsibility for it myself. The woman who stayed, bearing a resemblance to my wife, felt like a complete stranger, someone I couldn't recognize and had no desire to reconnect with. I was setting out on a new journey, confronting an uncertain road before me. In the midst of profound sorrow, an unexpected feeling of freedom emerged. The burden of deception, treachery, and condescension was momentarily released from my shoulders. The sole price I paid was that a portion of my existence had become unreachable. Even though the hour was late, my thoughts were swirling, prompting me to drive nearly 100 miles down the serene highway, immersed in contemplation until I stumbled upon a hotel for the night. I wasn't in search of a chain hotel. I craved an authentic local breakfast spot. I was in search of something genuine. In the end, I discovered it and relished what might be my final serving of grits for quite some time. As I enjoyed those grits, my mind wandered, prompting me to reflect on my journey to Maine. This signaled the onset of my new chapter, and a long journey awaited me. I could hasten my journey to Maine, fleeing my troubles, yet I had a fortnight before my job commenced. What's the rush? I needed time to settle my mind, process their betrayal, and move forward from the past. I decided to embrace a leisurely pace, savoring the landscape on my journey north, and connecting with the unique character of each state and its people along the way. This week marks the shift from my previous existence to a new chapter in my life. I aim to indulge my senses, particularly my palate, to wash away the blemishes and errors of my past and prepare for a new beginning. The remainder of the day unfolded in a leisurely exploration of Charleston, South Carolina, surrounded by the vibrant summer throngs. I delved into the abilities of talented artisans and craftsmen. Even without a reservation, I successfully secured a place to stay. Only after a simple dinner and getting comfortable for the evening did my mind drift back to the remnants of my broken marriage. At that moment, she was probably on her way back home. I was curious about her reaction when she spotted the for sale sign in the front yard and understood that her keys no longer fit the lock. The following day, I ventured north, navigating the winding back roads that led me to Annapolis, the capital of Maryland. I journeyed through quaint towns and historic plantations nestled along Virginia's ancestral rivers, such as the James, Shenandoah, and Monocacy, all of which gracefully flow into the Delmarva Bay. A solitary stretch of road lay before me, guiding me toward what was to come. I would traverse that winding path as it led me away from treachery and toward a new beginning in my life. Update 4. I found myself in my hotel room in downtown Annapolis, finally deciding to power on my cell phone. As anticipated, it was brimming with countless missed calls, emails, and text messages. The majority originated from Laura, with a handful coming from friends. I immersed myself in every single one, despite the challenges it presented. This was an essential move. At first, Laura was trying to persuade me that the situation was not what it seemed. Absolutely, sure. She sent those messages from Illinois before heading home to see the rest of the photos and read the PI's report. In the meantime, my friends were letting me know that Laura was trying to contact everyone in an effort to find me. Unbeknownst to her, she was searching in entirely the wrong spots. Ryan and his wife knew, but I deliberately kept the others uninformed. I would inform them as soon as I had gotten comfortable. I knew deep down that I couldn't linger in the shadows indefinitely. I became worried after receiving 2 calls from my daughters. Laura reached out to them to discover my location. I intentionally chose not to share my decision to leave their mother, as I preferred to address it in person. Yet I couldn't allow them to be concerned. I had a conversation with my daughters and thoughtfully laid out the situation for them. They were distressed and struggled to accept that their mother could act in such a way. So I shared with them the same images I had sent to Laura the night I departed, accompanied by the private investigator's report for their review. Following that, they vowed to keep my actions a secret from their mother. Another call had gone unanswered. My attorney has notified me that Laura has officially received the divorce papers. At that moment, she understood I was serious. He also mentioned that Greg's wife had been given a comprehensive collection of photos, videos, and audio recordings from his 6-week workshop. That was a fitting twist of fate for Greg. On the third day of my journey, I navigated through northern Maryland, and with a surge of excitement, I finally arrived in New Jersey. Actually, that's not quite right. I journeyed through New Jersey, not pausing until I arrived in Connecticut. During my time in Connecticut, I dedicated a few hours to wandering through some of the historic towns that line the coast. Though I lacked a particular aim, the architecture captivated me with its uniqueness compared to what I was familiar with in Virginia, evoking a profound feeling of being in a new environment, both in body and spirit. And let's keep this between us. But I spent an hour in New London trying to see how many submarines I could find. The blackfish exhibit remarkable stealth. As I looked out over the shoreline, I recalled that during the refueling of nuclear submarines, a section of the hull is cut open to access the reactor, only to be meticulously welded back into place afterward. Could that be a metaphor for what I'm going through? Could Laura's betrayal, which left a deep wound in my heart, be the initial spark to reignite my life? Is it possible for me to find healing as I begin this new chapter? Upon rising the following day, I sensed it would prove to be the most formidable day yet. Following a fulfilling breakfast of eggs, bacon, toast, and a robust cup of black coffee, I prepared myself for a challenging discussion with my eldest daughter Emily in Brown. The journey was brief, and I reached her dorm just before noon. We chose to postpone our discussion for a little while, allowing her the chance to feign happiness for an hour or two. She guided me through the campus and then led me to the cafeteria, where she introduced me to her friends. They were precisely the sort of young individuals I had envisioned her being among. Their demeanor was warm and engaging, demonstrating a keen awareness of one another's needs and offering support in a harmonious manner. As we were leaving, I pulled Emily's roommate aside to let her know that Emily was in for a challenging day. I requested her to take care of my daughter. She responded, "Naturally, Mr. Baker." Last night, she shared with us. We are all present for her. Absolutely. My daughter has made thoughtful choices in her friendships. Emily and I immersed ourselves in deep conversation for hours in her dorm room. I revealed to her photographs and played audio recordings that I had never anticipated sharing with one of my children. Her feelings oscillated between sorrow and rage. I can hardly fathom that Mom would act in such a way. Is she truly the same individual who nurtured us? What kind of repulsive individual has she become? I felt compelled to step in at that moment, despite grasping her feelings. Emily, no matter her actions, she remains your mother. And keep in mind, it's me she's turned against, not you. I'm sorry, Dad, but she broke apart my one and only family. This is truly impacting me. I couldn't argue against that. As the afternoon unfolded, our dialogue persisted, and I shared my aspirations with her. I urged her to invite her friends, and we headed out for dinner at the finest spot in town, or at least the finest that fit my budget. It appeared that all relished the respite from the typical fare of the dining hall. I recounted tales from my college dining days, and I believe it sparked a fresh appreciation for their present circumstances. I spent the night at a nearby hotel, and the following morning I shared breakfast with Emily, embraced her in an emotional hug, and then set off north to Boston to go through it all again. It seems Emily had briefed Sophie, as her response was notably more measured than that of her older sister. Disappointment and anger lingered, yet surprise had diminished. She asked to review the evidence, and I presented it to her. As fate would have it, her mother rang just as we were deep in conversation, and I discreetly signaled with a gesture that I was unavailable. I shook my head, waved my hands in a frenzy, and made a slicing gesture across my throat. She grasped the essence. Sophie consistently exhibited a calm and rational demeanor within the family. Then she performed an act I believed I would never see. She mentioned that Dad called last night, right? Is it accurate to say that you've turned into someone who deceives her spouse and engages in affairs with various partners? I was caught off guard. I felt the urge to reprimand her for the way she spoke to her mother, yet I couldn't overlook the validity of her statements. I said what I said, Mom. You dedicated 6 weeks to someone else while Dad was left alone at home. Did it pay off, Mom? Was it truly worth sacrificing your marriage for? Wow, my daughter has an impressive talent for expression. Reminder to self, steer clear of her wrath. There was little left to explore. Sophie shared that her mother was largely in tears and trying to make excuses, but my daughter wasn't convinced at all. Later, I brought Sophie and her friends to a Thai restaurant named the Golden Spoon, located close to campus. Much like her sister, Sophie had selected her companions with care, making dinner a delightful experience. As we made our way back to campus, one of her friends remarked, Mr. Baker, Sophie shared with us what you're experiencing. She experienced a lot of distress last night, yet we stood by her side. Perhaps you could come by once more, and we would be delighted to take you to the cafeteria. The group erupted in laughter. Perhaps we could discover a more suitable location than that. This ignited more laughter, and we chuckled all the way back to her dorm. I discovered a cozy spot to rest for the night, enjoyed breakfast with my daughter in the morning. And on the 7th day of my adventure, I pressed on northward. I left Boston and discovered I was merely 2 hours south of Portland. My attention has turned from my soon-to-be ex-wife to my daughters. They were blossoming into resilient, principled young women, and my pride in them knows no bounds. I have come to understand that they will handle the impending divorce more adeptly than I initially expected. On this day, the difficulty lay in parting with these two incredible treasures, uncertain of when I might encounter them once more. Ultimately, my concerns proved to be unfounded. I found myself unready to face the truth of embarking on this new chapter of my life just now. Upon arriving in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, I headed west, steering my way toward the majestic green peaks and the iconic Presidential Range. I ventured into the Green Peaks and ascended to the peak of Mount Adams via the Cog Railway. Standing there, gazing across the expanse to the smaller peaks of the Green Peaks and surveying the green pine forests below, feeling the cold Arctic winds that seemed out of place in the early days of August, I finally sensed a renewal within myself. Though solitude surrounded me, I finally found my strength and stood with confidence. I underwent a profound change, shedding the burdens and disappointments of my past. And now I stood poised to welcome the fresh chapter ahead, filled with endless possibilities. I found myself on elevated terrain, ready to set forth on a new adventure. All that I longed for was in my future. The following morning, I indulged in a plate of pancakes drizzled with authentic maple syrup. I found myself in the land of maple syrup, and it seemed that this would be my home for many years ahead. With a sense of rejuvenation and anticipation, I returned to my car and set off for Portland. I arrived in the mid-afternoon, so I thought it best to connect with my new boss to inform them of my arrival. I was familiar with roughly half of the office staff, and I was greeted with a friendly reception. It provided a sense of comfort. They were the first bright, straightforward faces I had come across in a week. James, my new boss, assembled the team for a round of introductions. I took a brief tour of the workplace, but only after everyone reached a consensus on our dinner destination. I thought we were headed to a downtown restaurant, but to my surprise, we found ourselves at James's house, grilling steaks and savoring all the delicious sides. I understand that I ought to have taken my time to enjoy lobster in Maine, yet there was no urgency for that experience. This focused more on the process of rejoining society. As I savored some remarkably delicious steaks paired with exceptional local beer, they expressed curiosity about my narrative. What was a man from the South doing, leaving everything behind and relocating to Maine at this point in his life? Thus, I recounted my story. I left out the graphic details, but included sufficient information for them to grasp the concept. I wrapped up with a brief request, as I may become a bit irritable in the coming weeks. It's not my typical way of being, but there's much on my mind to sort through. I trust that if I step out of line, you'll be honest with me and suggest I take a step back. I appreciate a bit of gentle encouragement from time to time. To my surprise, each woman embraced me and planted a kiss on my cheek, while every man draped an arm around my shoulder. "We stand by your side, Ab." That was everything they expressed, and it sufficed. Later that evening, as I made myself comfortable in my hotel room, I turned on my cell phone once more. My daughters both reached out with encouraging messages. It seems my number got passed around, as I ended up with around 8 or 10 extra messages from the young men and women who enjoyed the dinner and wanted to express their support for my daughters. Those children are absolutely remarkable. Several friends kept reaching out, prompting me to connect with each of them and clarify the situation to ease their worries. I chose not to disclose my whereabouts just yet. That information would be shared in due time. I just explained my reasons for leaving. Even though they were hesitant at first, I shared the same 3 photos I had sent to Laura and let them know that I possessed additional incriminating evidence should they require more persuasion. I reflected on it, yet truthfully, I couldn't uncover a single justification for protecting her from her own decisions. I made an attempt, but it was unsuccessful. It's time for the truth to be revealed. Eventually, I received heartfelt messages of encouragement from all of them, and I promised I would keep in contact. It was becoming ever more clear that my ideas of transforming into a ghost were merely flights of fancy. It's heartening to know that so many individuals hold me in their thoughts and affections. I reviewed the leftover text messages from Laura and checked the missed calls. Ultimately, she revealed the truth, but her admission was laced with unexpected flashes of fury. She found a way to hold me responsible for her actions and for all that had transpired. That is simply absurd. I dropped her a message letting her know I would give her a call the following day around noon. It was inevitable. The dialogue left much to be desired. She oscillated among blame, guilt, and denial. She felt regret. Greg's presence loomed large in her life. I was stifling her. I take responsibility for it. I overworked myself. She even had the nerve to assert that nothing significant occurred between them. They were simply having some fun. I nearly erupted in laughter when she attempted to persuade me that she was merely on a quest for her artistic muse. She went so far as to blame me for turning our daughters against her, as if her own actions hadn't already achieved that without any help from me. Once she ceased speaking, I presented my thoughts to her clearly and directly. She had plotted with Greg to deceive me, thwarted my attempts to mend our relationship, executed the betrayal, and now she was confronting the repercussions. I had moved past the need for explanations. As I ended the call, her tears continued to flow, and she was fervently making her appeal. I had reached my limit with her. There was no way to retreat. I was aware of far too many things. I found a cozy two-bedroom apartment in a charming older building, ideally situated near the office. I initially viewed the exercise from walking as a temporary solution, but my outlook changed rapidly. Embracing a straightforward lifestyle in town, steering clear of the added burdens that homeownership entails, and enjoying a quaint coastal cottage for weekend getaways appeared to be a wise choice. Then I pondered, why limit myself to just a cottage? I could acquire a boat, moor it in the harbor, and that would serve as my coastal escape. As I untangled everything, early fall had arrived. I believed I would embrace a life of solitude, yet reality has unfolded differently. I find that I now dedicate more time to my daughters than I did while living in Raleigh. They visit for a weekend each month, frequently inviting friends to join them. In those 36 hours, my apartment hums with life, and I typically host them for dinner. When they depart, I find myself yearning for the stillness, even though their absence is felt almost immediately. Interestingly, some of my friends have made the trip, while others intend to come when the weather improves. I reside by myself, yet I don't experience loneliness. I've formed new connections at work and during my explorations. The sailing community is vibrant and welcoming, and I've encountered fascinating women. Nonetheless, I will maintain my composure and decorum until the divorce is officially concluded. Despite the impending finalization of the divorce, Laura continues to contact me. She never genuinely feels remorse and tends to minimize the circumstances. Her only response is that it's something everyone engages in. It holds no significance, yet it indeed does. The closeness holds significance, and the dishonesty and control are of even greater importance. I considered sharing this with her, but people evolve, and I find no purpose in it anymore. Honestly, my life is intertwined with hers. Given that I have 2 daughters and a network of mutual friends, it's improbable that we could completely detach from one another. Yet, with 600 miles separating us, I am free from the constant ache of rejection and betrayal. She once held the pivotal role in my existence, but that changed when I faded from hers. At this moment, I am carving out my unique journey and shaping my destiny. This situation yielded several beneficial results. First and foremost, I truly appreciate residing in this place. I'm experiencing my first significant winter, and it's quite a surprise. But if others can manage it, I can too. The early darkness in this area truly enhances the warmth and brightness of indoor gatherings. I've begun my quest for a boat and discovered a location with moorings conveniently close to town. I'm eagerly anticipating spring, when I can dive into splicing lines and applying varnish. The nearby eateries are delightful, the craft breweries are exceptional, and the community is genuine. A plethora of music and dances awaits, such as contra dancing, and I continue to uncover delightful surprises. I have faith that everything will ultimately work out in my favor. Has my heart completely recovered? Not yet, But time has a remarkable ability to mend wounds, and I hold a strong belief in the brighter future that awaits. Oh, and just to add, Greg's wife appears to share my old-fashioned sensibilities. She expelled him from the home and ended their marriage. What's even more disheartening is that both Laura and Greg remain without any published work.